So as a follow-up to my last vid on the spirituality of illness in Mesopotamia, let's talk about the goddess that the doctors worked with, Gula. So Gula in Mesopotamia was a goddess, right? And she was also called Ninkarak, which translates as Lady of Kar, which when translated means Lady of the Wall. And in this case, the wall refers to a protective barrier. Although it's also associated with the city of Karak. So that city, the name Karak, obviously has the word or meaning wall in it. So you can think wall barrier. Think about in magic, right? When we make our circle, that's a barrier. Even in the Simon Necronomicon, it's referred to as a barrier, right? So what we're talking about is the barrier that would protect us from illness. She's also known as the Lady of Health. She's called the Queen of the Tempest and could bring earthquakes and storms. And I thought that was rather interesting because she had a kind of a physical manifestation in the world, albeit the fact that she was mainly a medical and healing deity. She's known as she who makes the heavens tremble. So there you go with the tempest and the earthquakes and such. And she's also called she who makes the broken whole again and she who restores life. So you can really get an idea of what she does as a healing deity. So, couple interesting things. They're a little disjointed just because I was trying to make some notes and whatnot. But so after the Great Flood, where you had he whose days are long, not Noah, but the basically the whole flood myth where Enlil got pissed off because humans were making too much noise, and he's like, "I'm gonna flood them all." And Enki was like, "Hey, you over there, let's build an ark, right? Yeah, seriously, let's get you safe because I like people, because he originally made people. Enki's the father of people. And let's see. So, so after the Great Flood, Gula was the one who put life into clay, and then the gods breathed life into it to kind of repopulate the earth, right? She's also called Azu Gulatu, which means great healer. She's associated with the underworld and transformation, so you can kind of take a look at you can tie this to tarot cards, or the tarot card like the major arcana. Look at the death card. Death means transformation. Speaking of which, if you check out the Black Tower, my buddy's channel, I recently did a live stream with him where we did talk about death and transformation. So I'll probably leave a comment with a link either to his channel or that video. But if you've watched my channel for a while, you guys know that I work with him a lot. So if you haven't checked out the Black Tower, do so after this vid, right? So she was worshipped in Nippur and also called the Lady of Nippur. She was the daughter of Anu. Her consort was Ninurta, the healing god, and Pabilsag, which was really interesting because Pabilsag is a demon, right? Well, associated as a demon, what we would call demons nowadays. Um, so she had two sons, Ninazu and Damu, who were also healing deities. And when you worked with her, you would effectively kind of call on Damu, who was seen as her intermediary. So like any healing that would come to a person would go through Damu. So like the more powerful a deity is, what it seems to be is the more powerful a deity is slash was, the farther away that they were, and they more or less had another lesser deity to go through. Usually somebody related to them or whatnot. Kind of like how Anu is super far away, so you had to go through another deity to get to him. You would basically go through Nebo to get to Anu. But we're talking about a different entity here. So, yeah, let's see. So she was also the goddess of the Asu, or the medical doctors. And if you recall my last video on the spirituality of illness in Mesopotamia, you had the Asu, which are more the physical medical doctors, and the Asipu, which were more the spiritual medical doctors. So she was the goddess of the Asu. So she's the patron female deity of doctors and known as the great healer. Gula actually translates as the word great. She's known as the great physician of the black-headed ones, and that's because Sumerians called themselves Sagiga, which means black-headed people. She was mainly worshipped in the city of Isin, or Isin. She's depicted with a dog and having stars around her. So her animalistic representation was always the dog, right? Which that's much to my chagrin because personally I think cats are better. But hey. So she was originally called Bao or Baba and was first thought of as a goddess of dogs. And then, so first she was thought of as a goddess of dogs. And then as time went on, she was associated with healing. So naturally, dogs were associated with healing. So let's look at like some allegorical stuff here, right? They would actually bury dogs on the doorways of the temple, and dogs even roamed around. There were dogs that were roam free around her temple, and dogs were associated with her and vis-a-vis healing and then vis-a-vis protection, right? So in Mesopotamia, you would actually bury a dog at your doorway, and that was seen as protecting your house. So, she's goddess of the barrier, right? Barrier being protection. Her symbol is the dog. Therefore, you would bury a dog at your doorway to help that barrier so you would not get sick. Albeit the fact that, gods could still kind of circumvent that because gods are effectively like omnipresent, or they kind of had a, what do you call, a sphere of influence, an area of effect, because gods were worshipped in certain cities, and wherever the god's statue was, that's where their influence was, and that's where their essence was. So effectively burying a dog at your doorway more or less would protect you more often from roaming nasty spirits, or even the vengefulness of ancestors that might have not been honored correctly, because if you didn't do that, then you would get sick. So let's get back to the notes. Right. So, talked about that. So she was also associated with Ninurta. She's called the Queen of Nippur, and Gula, her name, was given to her, and she was called that during the late Babylonian period. So Gula's a really interesting deity, right? Doing all the research this morning, because I'm just pumping out vids as I go. Just fascinating stuff. So she was called upon during any medical procedure when they needed her help to help heal somebody, and she could have been known to get angry at times, which was symbolized through the tempest and whatnot, and the earthquakes and such. So she did have an angry side, but for the majority of it, she was seen as a benevolent deity that you could call on for healing. And this was just, I'm on a roll with stuff this morning, and I'm learning so much. So let me know what you guys think about Gula, and if you have had any experiences spiritually with being healed yourself. It might not have been with Gula or whatever, but what was that like when you were super sick? Did you ever have like a spiritual connection or a spiritual moment that kind of helped you to get out of your illness? Let's expand on this stuff a little bit. So looking forward to the comments, and you can always find me on Facebook and all that stuff. All that info at the end of this video. Good hunting. Thanks for watching my video. So if you want to check out my playlists, I have, among others, the Simon Necronomicon, the Tree of Life, General Magic, Tulpamancy, a playlist on my books, the elements, stones, the theories that govern magic, and the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia. If you want to check out my books on Amazon, I have Creating Consciousness, Magical Mechanics, Magical Theater, Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Movement, which is an update and expansion upon Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Mastery, which is a combination masterwork of Magical Theater and Magical Mechanics, and The Guide to the Spheres and Beyond. You can also find me on Facebook at Magickology YT. You can email me at priestofthenecro@gmail.com, and you can even check out my Instagram, which is Magickology. And good hunting.